Sarah Fox Children's Convalescent Hospital was started in 1965 as a center for malnourished children. At the time, malnourishment was rife in the so-called colored communities. The funding for the hospital was provided by the late Sarah Hilda Fox. She was an Irish national and she came over to South Africa around about the turn of the century. She met and married a gentleman, he was Charles Fox, and they settled in Sea Point. They had no children, and when she died, she bequeathed an amount of money for the establishment of a facility for disadvantaged children. In fact, it was for colored children at the time. And together with the city council who donated the land, the hospital was established. And at the time, the staff was provided by the municipalities, and then of course it was also volunteer doctors and nurses. And then sometime in the 1970s, it was then taken over by the Department of Health. And since then, we've formed this partnership with the Provincial Health Department to provide a health service on their behalf, as a subacute facility. All the tertiary hospitals in the Western Cape would refer their patients to us for the convalescent period before they are discharged home. So we serve as an intermediate role. We serve as the bridge between the tertiary hospital and the community. So in cases where the children they're very well and they could possibly go home, but the home circumstances in most cases is not ideal for them. And especially in cases where there are compliance problems. Children that are on TB treatment, for example, needs to get their medication in a very disciplined manner. So in these cases where they are at risk of not getting the medication, that is when we would be having that role, where we can ensure compliance. And this is also what the project is about. We've started the service is adopting a new approach where we involve the family. So it's going to ease that transition from the tertiary hospital to home. So we actually bring in families into our facility, and that is how we can facilitate a more effective transition from the tertiary hospital home. So that is our role, that is what we do here. We can accommodate 60 children at any one time, but that is a bit much for our nurses to cope with at the moment because of our funding. So we don't have so many nurses to have 60 children. So at most we have 45 to 50 children, and about 50% of our children at the moment are the cerebral palsy type of child, as well as malnutrition has actually taken it's actually on the increase at the moment, malnutrition. And then we also have the palliative care service that is a fairly new service that we are rendering for the past 3 years. So any condition that is needing some type of intervention like therapy, maybe a child was involved with a motor car accident, and as part of the healing they require occupational therapy or physiotherapy. We also have an aerobic therapist here. So that is the type of services that we can render. So it's not limited to a condition per se, a medical condition, but it's the type of service we can render to the child. So we've got the palliative care service, we've got the therapy service, as well as, very importantly, it is the social service that we render here. Sometimes our children are really well enough to go home. they don't really need all that medical intervention. But the problem is with the parents, and especially in cases like non-accidental injury, where the patient has been injured due to some violence at home. Sometimes it's physical, sexual abuse, and in that cases, those children cannot, even if they are well, they cannot be sent back into that environment. Absolutely not, because that is also really placing them at risk of being abused again in a case like that. So the social service, that service is, I think, it's becoming more important within the communities at the moment, with drug addiction, alcoholism, unemployment, and poverty. So we have them here, and we bring mom to the hospital, and we teach them how to take care, how to cook in an inexpensive manner, and that is where we are trying to improve services, so that when the child is discharged home, they are discharged into an environment where there's more capacity, and it's more conducive to their health and well-being. So the impact of us not having the capacity to deal with children, and especially with children where the acuity is quite high, with they're very sick, because if we have very sick children, we obviously need more trained staff and more trained nurses. In a case like that, then that children will remain at Red Cross Hospital. And that impacts on the service on the whole, because then they block beds for other children that could come in. And this is one of the main driving forces for the palliative care unit that's been opened. Because sometimes you have children that they're very ill, but they may be terminal. And in a case like that, the Department of Health, it's not part of the core business to render a palliative care service to patients. Their core business is to ensure that patients come into hospital, they are treated, and they go back home. And that is where the big need is. And if we are able to accept those children where they are very ill, but they are terminal, that is where we can really make an impact on the health service in the Western Cape on the whole. Our funding comes from the Department of Health in the form of a monthly grant, and that funding is only enough to pay our staff salaries. So with that funding, we need to determine our staffing mix, and we are only able to afford to have one sister on duty at any one time. And then with that, we will have a staff nurse in some cases, and then 1 or 2 enrolled nursing assistants, and the rest are care workers with volunteers. So this type of staff mix that we have limits us with taking, the acute child from Red Cross. So we have to actually take children that are well, but that are at risk, like the non-accidental injury child, a child that's completing their TB treatment, the child, malnourished children as well, but we find that when the child is malnourished, they are developmentally delayed, and this is a sort of a good fit for us, the malnourished child. But when it comes to a child with cerebral palsy, and maybe with other conditions, and this is also on the increase because there's nowhere else for them to go. So when they come here, we can give them the best treatment that is available, but unfortunately we must limit our numbers. And hence, we are not able to be 100% full. And what happens is that when we get an admission, an application for admission from a tertiary hospital, our multidisciplinary team sit with this admission, they discuss it, and to determine whether we can or accept that patient or not. And most times, the patients that are, we don't turn away patients as far as possible, but the ones that we limit are the cerebral palsy cases, you know, and especially the cerebral palsy that has got other conditions as well, because we don't want to put that child at risk or even ourselves at risk, you know, in terms of medical legal implications. So that is how the funding actually affects the service. You know, if we had to get better funding, we'll be able to render a better service to more children. I've been here for about 8 years, and when I got here, the hospital was really in a bad way financially, and at the time we had to make some changes to cope and to actually to stay in existence, really, you know, to survive. And then as time went on, we improved our capacity with partnerships with various organizations like the Gift of the Givers Foundation. And then about 3 years ago, we formed a partnership with the Red Cross Children's Hospital Trust, and they funded us for the establishment of our palliative care unit. It's the first dedicated pediatric palliative care unit in the Western Cape. And with that funding, we were then able to employ the type of staff that we needed. You know, we then could employ 4 professional nurses, which we still have in our employ, and we could improve on our infrastructure. Our infrastructure to deal with fire, for example, that was improved. We also managed to get a generator, because, you know, at the time we were struggling with power outages, and it was important for us to have a generator because some of our children were on oxygen. So that was very important. So all of these opportunities that we had with the extra funding enabled us to improve our services. So now we're at a point where we can really offer a good service. Going forward, it's still limited to a few patients. It's limited to about half the amount of patients that we could extend our service to. The other things that's improved is that the Department of Health, also through other partnerships, they are able to employ therapy staff. So we've got an occupational therapist at the moment, and a speech and hearing therapist, as well as an audiologist that has been placed here. They are on contract with the Department of Health, and these people, they are able to also render that type of service to the patients coming from Red Cross. It's a pilot study, so they are looking at how we can improve our services by having, you know, the therapy department extended, but it's still a problem because it's not enough patients that we are getting that we can access to actually enjoy the service. You see, that is a problem that we've got. So it's sort of we would like to get some more patients in for the therapy to enjoy that service, but we are limited because of our nursing staff. The local community supports us, especially the church-based organizations, the mosques, and even the schools and that. So they would come here and do some voluntary work. We'll get donations, clothing, toys and that. And then on our side, we also support local businesses. We would buy our groceries from them, our cleaning materials, and other services like maintenance services. We would, ask a local person to come in. One of the organizations that we have a partnership with, lasting partnership, is the Gift of the Givers Foundation. So they've been around for a long time, and they are They are our security when it comes to needing something that we really don't have. We could just call them on the phone and say, you know what, we need some milk, we need some diapers, and they would come and support us like that. So it's really wonderful support that we've got from the community. A lot of our food stuff we are able to get via donations instead of having to go buy food. Sometimes people would come here and bring cooked food. We have a volunteer at the moment. She's coming here to come help us in the kitchen to do some you know, the help with the cooking at the moment. So that is how the community helps us. Yes, so with palliative care, one of the key pillars of palliative care is to involve the family. And when we started the palliative care unit, the family-centered care was also started, and we managed to get a room that was sponsored by an overseas foundation called the Zoe Lee Foundation, and it's been a very successful venture thus far, getting the parents here or the moms here and being able to teach them and also to help them with their social needs. So we often find that when the mom comes here, she perhaps don't have an ID document and maybe the baby hasn't been registered, and then our social worker sort of guides them. The other thing that happens with this family-centered care is that the mother comes here, she looks after the child while she's here under the guidance of our staff, and we will then teach them how to feed the child, what to feed the child, how to give them medication, and that is really crucial, especially with illnesses like TB and HIV, where they need to get their medication. They would stay here for about 2 weeks, and then when they leave, we also give them the opportunity to contact the hospital when there's some trouble at home, when they can't cope with the child, you know. So we'll be able to say, are you okay? Otherwise, bring baby in and we can tend to the child again. So just to increase accessibility and for that mom to feel that she has got our support. Because, you know, sometimes you're in the situation, you can deal with it, but when you get home, it's a different story, and especially when you have a special needs child. So we want to ensure that when the mom goes home with baby, she feels that there is support just on the other side of the phone, or if the child needs to be admitted again, she can come here and say, you know what, I've got some problems here, can you help me? When we discharge a child, we notify the department that that child has gone home, and then they would then send a home-based care worker to the home to ensure that things are also still on par, that the child is still thriving, and that is how the circle, the health circle is completed between the tertiary hospital to us as an intermediate facility, and then from here to the home. Our mother's rooms or our mother's accommodation has started with the conversion of one of our storage spaces that we had into a mother's room, and we currently have space for 2 moms. We would like to eventually have 8 moms here at any one time. So we do have the space. We've got one wing that was previously used for offices and storage that we would like to convert into a mother's accommodation, because in that particular wing there's ablution facilities currently, as well as a little kitchen that's not quite up to standard, but the goal is to sort of upgrade it so that the 8 mothers could be housed in this wing, and with the necessary facilities that they need to be comfortable. But our short-term goal is to convert one of the offices into a mother's room that can accommodate 2 moms. We're going to need things like beds obviously, and a little dressing table, a cupboard, the linen that you need to beautify the space. Of course, before that happens, it first needs to be painted and some repairs done on the windows and the floor as well. So, and then for the kitchen, we are going to need things like a little stove, a small fridge, and a toaster. Especially, you know, they always associate the smell of toast with home, you know, being at home. So although the mothers will not be cooking the big meals, it's about having a facility where they can make a cup of tea, make themselves a sandwich, and things like that. And eventually it will be great for them to be able to cook here as well, because sometimes you'll be amazed that moms was not able to cook just a simple meal. So we are, you know, eventually would love to be able to teach them to make a simple meal for the children. And the main thing is also for them to have the children by them when they are doing that, in order for us to create that homely environment. And as far as the ablution facilities are concerned, we only have a toilet and a hand basin for now, but eventually we would like to also have a shower, because often our moms come in here, they don't enjoy having a shower or bath where they're coming from, because they don't have those facilities. Most of our moms come from very, very poor areas like Philippi, Nyanga. It is extremely poor. So when they come here, it's a shock for them sometimes that they are able to enjoy, you know, a lovely bed and warm showers and things like that. You know, when they come here, we find that they are broken themselves. So they first need to be healed. They first need to be looked after. And it's unbelievable, the challenge that we have experienced when we started inviting the moms here. And they're not motivated sometimes, you know. It's like the child sometimes, it may appear to be a burden, and they may look like they're not good mothers, but it's not the case. It's because of the circumstances. But we've really seen some amazing transformations happening with parents coming here. Okay, so the funding that we get from the Department of Health, it's basically enough just for our staff salaries, like I said. And everything else we need to sort of raise funds for. We also get a grant from the Sarah Fox Trust though, that helps us a bit. But everything that we need to run the hospital properly is really a battle. That's a struggle, because it's no good having a lovely facility and a beautiful garden when we don't have bread. We need to buy bread. We need to buy everything, fruit, vegetables. We must buy the children's milk. It is hugely expensive. The diapers that we use a combination of diapers and normal linen nappies. We still use linen nappies. You know, a lot of people don't, but because the diapers are so pricey. The diapers that we need are for mainly for the cerebral palsy children, because they are maybe too big for a normal size nappy. So we need to buy adult diapers for them, and it's unbelievable. We spend so much money on that, but we can't otherwise, because they need to be taken care of, and we want to give the best care for these children possible. So we need, every day it's a fight to get their diapers, to get food, to pay for the electricity. When things go wrong, we have a maintenance person that comes in to fix it, and sometimes he says, don't worry to pay me, it's fine. And other times he'll say, it's okay if you don't have money, you can pay me later. So that is really a big help. But when they come to me and they say, please, we need some, some fruit, we need fruit juice, then I'll say, okay, we'll see where we can get. And then what we do is we will approach somebody and say, can we please give us some fruit juice? And then it will really be great if one day we won't have that problem with, oh, I'm not sure, I must first check the bank balance, If we know we can give that child whatever they need without having to worry. And cleaning things, cleaning products, we need to have a clean facility, obviously. The cleaning products are so expensive. What we do is we budget so that we can pay our essentials like you would do at home. Your electricity and your water is paid, and your basic food stuff. And the other stuff we must fight for. So that's really a struggle. And if we can get assistance with that type of thing, it will really be great. It will be a really good help if we could have a secure, regular supply of items like toilet paper, of bread, butter, milk, sugar, diapers, sometimes clothing, but often we get sufficient clothing and toys from the local communities. But it's things that we have to spend our money on, and that is hard, because if you don't have a budget for it, then you can't render that good service that you would like to. Working in this industry, which we would call the caring industry, is really not easy, especially in this time, because the industry is at risk. There's a lot of other NGOs in the area that's had to close their doors. So our staff are quite aware of the fact that they may not get, salaries or that they can get elsewhere. But they remain here, and some of the staff has been here for a very long time. But they stay here for the children and for the love of the children, and to be able to change the children's lives. Some of our staff has even adopted from the patients. Yeah, we say, you'll find that a patient comes in and somebody from the staff is going to fall in love with that child. Everybody's got their favorites. Sometimes you end up having a lot of favorites. But the staff has been here for a long time because they love what they do and because they can make a difference. And I think that it rubs off, because people that's been here for a very long time, and I'm talking about 30 years, when you come here, you feel that. And I think once you walk in by the door, you can't leave. That I've experienced. So many people, even people that come here to do voluntary work, they come back again. People that come here on a contract basis, they come and say, can we please, I need to work here, I want to work here. And a lot of these, the staff that we have, they have the choice. They can go elsewhere, because nurses are in short supply all over, and they've got excellent skills, but they chose to stay here to make a difference. And that's why I've stayed, so that I can make a difference as well. It is very, very satisfying to be able to make a difference in the children's lives. And also for people coming in here that's been here some time back, maybe a couple of years ago, and they come here and they say, oh my word, Faye, it looks great. The children looks well. They are. You can feel the love, that's been given to the children, and that's very satisfying. If people come in and say, oh, we can feel the love that you're giving to the children, and for us, like I said, that if we see the child going home, when they come in, they can hardly do anything, and they go home and they hop in and skip in with their mother and so on. It is really satisfying, because you can say, my little input that I gave enables that child to go back home in a healthy state, in a better state that they came in. So that is one of the reasons why people work here, and that I'm still here. Yes. This year marked the 50th anniversary of Sarah Fox Children's Hospital, and it's a very trying time now, and I think that if we are able to survive this period, going on to the next period of our existence, if we can be secured of funding, and we know that we've got the support from government, from other organizations, then we can look forward to another 50 years of existence of Sarah Fox. And this is something that we would like to see, because the economy is really bad at the moment, and things are really not looking too good for us as an NGO. And we would like to be able to say, you know what, we are going to survive, and we're going to see another 50 years of Sarah Fox.